welcomes you to the Alexandra Levine live podcast. Today, we've got a packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you well informed. So, please click the subscribe button to get notified of her upcoming episodes. If you like what Alexandra talks about, then please share the Alexandra Levine live to others. Alexandra also looks forward to your comments during this episode. Tonight's Alexandra Levine live podcast starts now.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello. This is Alexandra Levine live with the America's Pulse Network. You are all in tonight with me, Alexandra Levine. We have breaking news. It was so beautiful to see President Trump welcome the Prime Minister of Japan today, Sanae Takachi, to watch her literally dance into his arms and just praise him. And it was so funny, the fake news media was in the Oval Office with them today, and this ridiculous reporter, said to President Trump, why didn't you let the Prime Minister of Japan know what you were going to do, before you went into Iran? So he answers back, he says, did we know what was going on Pearl Harbor? Did they let us know what was going to happen at Pearl Harbor? No. It was a phenomenal response, a quick and witty response, because as you know, President Trump is a master chess player. He's smart, he's quick, he's sharp on his feet, and he knew how to answer that ridiculous reporter and his stupid question. And there's a lot of stupid questions that are asked in the Oval Office as I've been present and witnessed them. But also tonight, the president is hosting a beautiful dinner with the Prime Minister of Japan, praising her. She's praising his son, Barron Trump. She's saying that he may be a president one day. I mean, these are some really beautiful things to see. Foreign leaders coming and praising the commander-in-chief. As you know, I had the opportunity to interview the Deputy Secretary of State of Hungary, Marton Ugrozdi, who works directly under Viktor Orban, Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and couldn't say more than enough good things about President Trump. We're starting to see foreign leaders praise President Trump. Prime Minister Netanyahu praised him today again. This is a good thing. What we want, though, is to see Congress, politicians, governors, doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or independent, praise the President of the United States, support President Trump. It's really sad that he has more support overseas than he does in this country. And even some hardcore conservatives, we call them the alt-right, the ones that say they're America first and they're the reason why President Trump won. They're all turning on President Trump. They're all saying that he's not America first and he's not the person that we voted for in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. Well, they're all turncoats. Again, it's all about loyalty. We are seeing now the difference between loyalty overseas, loyalty in America. Who's really loyal? Who's really going to be there at the end of the day? To protect our country and to protect President Trump. And again, it's so beautiful to see the Prime Minister of Japan deeply humble and deeply praising and embracing President Trump today. And like I said, breaking news, this is the first slide with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. So he fires back again at what the fake news media has been saying. Again, this is the alt-right conservatives, the Nick Fuentes, the Candace Owens, the Tucker Carlsons, the Megyn Kellys of the world, and all these other idiots, as well as Democrat socialists, that have basically blamed, and Joe Kent too, which we'll get into in a minute, that have basically blamed Israel for this war and saying that Israel is the reason why President Trump is in the war, that Israel is telling President Trump what to do. Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu, he fired right back and he said, there's no way I've been manipulating President Trump into the Iran war. It is complete fake news. He says, quote unquote, does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. Quote, Trump always makes his decisions on what is best for America. And that is correct. That is 100% correct. And then Netanyahu went on to praise America, to praise President Trump. He also talked about the Christian people. He thanked our Christian brothers and sisters. I know there's a lot of other fake news media. People are saying that that Prime Minister Netanyahu is satanic. He dissed Jesus Christ. He went after Jesus. Again, enough is enough. Israel is one of the only countries besides America that celebrates Christmas, Ramadan, and Hanukkah together. There are millions and millions of Christians that live in Jerusalem that celebrate the holidays, that get along with the Jewish community. There's 2 million Arab Israelis that live in Israel. Netanyahu loves the Christian people. He has kept the Church of the Holy Sepulchre sacred for many, many, many years. So enough of this crap that Netanyahu hates the Christian people. Netanyahu has called on our Christian brothers and sisters to work with Israel, to work with our Israeli brothers and sisters. And so have I. And so has my Jexit organization, ZOA, and so forth. And Republican Jewish Coalition as well. So enough is enough to the alt-rights and to these crazies that scream out Christ is king, that scream out that Zionism is evil, that scream out that the Jews are satanic and the Jews are scum. Because let me tell you something, Jewish people, real Jewish people like myself and my next guest, don't think that way and don't feel that way and never will. And Charlie Kirk never felt that way about the Jewish people. He actually praised Israel and the Jewish people, and so does his wife, Erica Kirk. So enough of these alt-right crazies that are part of Turning Point USA now and that are trying to make a name for themselves. It's funny, Charlie Kirk died, and all of a sudden these anti-Semites come out of the woodwork. And I'm tired of it. And now breaking news with Joe Kent, that mofo, who recently resigned, which we know he was actually fired, who wrote a horrible resignation letter blaming Israel for what's going on with Iran. So the good news is that the FBI is investigating him. They found out that Joe Kent shared secret government information with disaffected MAGA media figures such as Tucker Carlson. He shared other leaks with Tucker. FBI plans to release details to show that the investigation predated the resignation. And of course, Laura Loomer predicted that Joe Kent would, quote, resign. And who did he go to? He ran to his friend Tucker Carlson and was on his podcast. It's just par for the course, guys. And as I said, Joe Kent's wife is connected with Hezbollah, and he's compromised. And that's Hezbollah and terrorist money jamming into his pockets. So, of course, he can't work for a Trump administration that supports Israel and works with Bibi Netanyahu. God forbid, Kanahara, we say in Yiddish. But these are the evils that Hashem and Jesus Christ, whoever you worship, are weeding out of the administration and weeding out of our lives. And President Trump isn't stupid. He knows who he can trust and who he can't trust. And he is getting help from outsiders such as myself and others that are literally warning the president about who he can and cannot trust. It's time, folks. It's time to call these a-holes out. It's time to call it for what it is. We need to combat this at every single turn. It's disgusting and it's asinine that we have evils in this country that want to undermine our country and want to serve the enemy for money. Let me tell you something. The enemy doesn't care about them. At the end of the day, the enemy is going to murder them. It's just a matter of time. And again, when a socialist gets on you and they offer you a crap load of money and they say they'll take care of you and your family for the rest of your life, people are suckers and they fall for it. But what they don't understand is that these socialists and globalists and Marxists and communist elitists, they own you for life. You are literally stuck with them. It's you try to break away from them and you will be killed. They own you. They own your soul. They're the Satan. They're the demons. Not the Jews, not the Christians, but the Islamic regimes, the Islamic terrorists, and the people that work for them. Now we go into segment one. We show the video right now. It's a clip of Mr. Mark. He is running for the new, to be confirmed as the new DHS secretary. And this is the video clip. It's 1:08, and this is what he has to say.
Political theater sometimes is true differences. But what we do know is that we're playing with fire. We have 280,000 DHS employees right now that are on day 30 without pay, and they're still showing up every single day to do their job. That is a dedicated group of people. And we should all be proud of them. We should all be working together, and we should all be trying to fund them. So I pray, seriously, I pray that we can get past this. That once this hearing is over and once we go through this process, I get it. I get some of it's got to be political theater. I understand it. I've had to really pray about my attitude. But I will say, once it's over, I hope we can work together and get them funded. So when I walk in, if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, if I walk in as secretary, that these guys are ready to go to work day one. So God bless you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to your questions.
Beautiful. Beautifully and wonderfully said. Now, the guy sitting behind him was Sean O'Brien. As you know, Mark Wayne had a heated confirmation hearing with him, or not confirmation, a heated Senate hearing with him a while back. And they minced words, and Mark Wayne said, "Hey, you want to go into the arena, step outside and fight with me? Let's do this." And after that altercation, they called each other, they worked it out. Mark Wayne actually went on Sean O'Brien's podcast, and now they're really good friends. And you see Sean O'Brien supporting him, right behind him, supporting him. As Rand Paul, the chairman of that committee, was being an a-hole yesterday and making it personal and basically calling Mark Wayne a bully. To his right was his beautiful wife of 28 years. They have 6 children. He's actually going to be a grandfather, unexpected pregnancy from his oldest son. But it's beautiful. I mean, the guy loves his wife, and they made a video saying that their love for each other is stronger now than it's ever been, even with all the crap that this man has been going through. But he knows that he's going to be taking on one of the most important jobs. But I know Mark Wayne Mullen. He's strong on crime. He's strong on the border. He's from Oklahoma. They bordered the state of Texas. Oklahoma is strong. They have a strong GOP over there. There's a lot of money in Oklahoma. These are farmers. These are people that don't F around. And we saw in that video, and we saw in this whole confirmation hearing, how Mark Wayne Mullen didn't F around. And he did such a good job that Senator of Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, actually voted to have him go through committee. Let's put up that slide. So Gunther actually said, breaking, Sean Mullen's nomination as Trump's DHS secretary just cleared the Senate Homeland Security Committee in an 8-7 vote. Democrat John Fetterman, who I said crosses the aisle with a yay vote, while GOP chairman Rand Paul votes nay after their heated clash. We all wish that John Fetterman would switch parties. And I always say, well, the real John Fetterman, please stand up. Will he please stand up? Because one minute he's a Democrat, the next minute he's a Republican. As you know, John Fetterman is very, very pro-Israel, and he actually supports the war in Iran. He believes that we should protect our Jewish and Christian brothers and sisters, and he always prayed for the hostages, always wanted the hostages back. And he actually went to Israel. He's been to Israel many times and met with Mike Huckabee and met with Bibi Netanyahu and Isaac Herzog. And Bibi Netanyahu will he'll always invite him over and always appreciates him coming over and appreciates his support. But it shows you that if you can cross the aisle and you can, what they say, make it your Republican Party, as my friend Tim Fazenbaker said, quote unquote, you have to cross the aisle. You have to talk to the opposition. You can make peace. You can find some kind of a mutual agreement. I discovered that after October 7th. I discovered it now. I work with a lot of Democrats in the state of Maryland and beyond. But I've also gotten people to flip. A lot of Democrats to vote Republican in the general. Because when you get down to the nitty-gritty and you really talk to them about what they believe in and their true values, it doesn't support these Democrat socialist values. And you talk about moderate Democrat, where is a moderate Democrat? Where are they? They're called dinos, Democrat in name only. But there really isn't moderate Democrats anymore. You're either liberal, hardcore Democrat, socialist, libertarian, independent. And then with Republican, you're either alt-right or just conservative. There's really no Republican Democrat Party anymore. There's all these little labels in between. Or you're a Gen Z or Gen X or whatever. But it's really important, guys, to understand. It's very, very important to understand that you want someone who's strong on the border, and you want someone that's going to protect your children and reduce the fentanyl that's been coming over to this country, and reduce the sex trafficking, human trafficking, child trafficking, and also get rid of these pedophiles and throw them in jail forever. The pedophile business is $1 billion business between Mexico and the United States. It's huge. And I know that Mark Wayne Mullen wants to get to the bottom of it and work with Thomas Homan and work with the ICE director, Lyons, to get our country back on track, to make sure that we have zero border crossings, which I do give credit to Thomas Homan there. If you want to give some credit, Kristi Noem, you can, but I wholeheartedly give it to Thomas Homan. He's a badass. Love the guy. He actually does the job. And to Greg Abbott as well for making sure that there are 0 border crossings. But again, what happens overseas happens here too. What's been happening in Iran happens in America too, especially under the Biden administration. Again, I've said it on my show time and time again. We've had illegals from Syria, from Iran, from Iraq, from Afghanistan, from Lebanon that have crept into our country. They've crept into Texas, they've crept into Virginia, into Maryland, into all liberal states mostly. They tried creeping into southern states like Florida, Georgia, Alabama. They were thrown out. Missouri, thrown out. Of course, they're all over California, the state of Washington, some in Nevada, Arizona, they're throwing them out. New Mexico, they throw them out now. But there was a lot of illegal Syrian and illegal Afghan refugees that came here under the Biden administration. And the Israeli Mossad, which is the Israeli CIA and FBI, they warned Biden and Blinken and Merrick Garland, and they did nothing. They didn't care. They wanted the havoc in our country. They wanted Islamic terrorism to rise. Let's put up the second slide with my friend Michelle Lubin-Terrace, who is the president and founder of the #Jexit organization. Can we make that just a little bit bigger, Damon shared? Can we flip the slide so I can see it? There we go. So Michelle Lubin-Terrace, she writes, Trump says Iran is attacking Qatar because Iran thinks Qatar had something to do with Israel attacking Iranian oil fields, and then says he will do worse to the oil fields if Iran continues attacking Qatar. So Trump wrote, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks were made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, which insists the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize the level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Again, Iran is attacking Qatar because Iran thinks Qatar had something to do with Israel attacking Iranian oil fields. Then suddenly he will do the worst. So again, this is Iran, in my opinion, setting Israel up for disaster. They want to start trouble. They want to start havoc. And of course, it's all about the oil. Oil is huge in Iran. Oil is huge through Qatar, through different pipelines. It's all about oil at this point. Saudi Arabia, they're involved in this as well. That's why you had Ron Dermer, who used to work under Netanyahu. He was over hanging out with Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, excuse me. They've been doing a lot of work in Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner's had business dealings in Saudi Arabia for years. And of course, our ultimate goal is to have Saudi Arabia sign into the Abraham Accords. That is Jared Kushner's life's work to do that. And I believe that he will do that. But yeah, oil is very important here. Oil is very important. And, President Trump said to Netanyahu, please don't attack any more oil reserves. Please, just we're trying to make peace here. Just pull back a little bit. And Trump has said, if I don't like something Netanyahu does, I'll tell him, and vice versa. But Netanyahu does not control President Trump. Netanyahu does not tell President Trump what to do. Not at all. They're friends. They're partners. They work together. They're allies. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to work with your allies and protect them, not go against them, not undermine them like Biden and Blinken and all the other idiots did, and Obama. You're supposed to work with your allies, not work with your enemies. You're not supposed to give power to your enemies so they hurt your allies. And President Trump talked about pulling out of NATO. He talked about not working with NATO. He thinks that NATO, may not be necessary. There are certain NATO allies that I wholeheartedly believe he should still continue working with, like Hungary for such. But Ukraine shall never be a part of NATO. Hell no. We don't want Ukraine a part of NATO at all. They don't have the best interest at heart. and they will not help America. They will actually undermine Hungary. They will undermine America. They will undermine Israel. They will undermine everyone else, all their other allies in NATO. So we don't want that at all. And of course, Turkey's involved in that too. And President Trump and Netanyahu has been speaking with Erdogan too, because Turkey has a stake in this too. They have a huge oil preserve. They have a huge army, huge navy, huge military. We don't want to piss off Erdogan right now. So, Trump is the peacemaker. He's trying to figure out how can he work with all of these Middle Eastern countries. And the majority of these Arab nations do support Netanyahu. They do support taking down the Islamic terrorism regime and taking out any terrorist regime in your country. When you have terrorists invading your country, it affects the economy, it affects the oil, it affects production and manufacturing. So that's why it's very, very important that we get rid of these terrorist regimes and that people support it. A lot of young Americans, they don't understand it. They're reading too much into the propaganda. Jews are not the devil here. And Netanyahu would never call Jesus Christ the devil. Jesus Christ was a Jew. He was born in Israel. He died in Israel. He was circumcised. He was bar mitzvahed. That's what people need to understand here. So that's great that you say Christ is king, but do you realize that you're supporting a Jewish man, a Zionist? Jesus Christ was a Zionist. So when you attack Zionists, you're attacking your friend Jesus. You really are. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all these other idiots, Josiah Cox, and many others. You don't know what the hell you are talking about, what you're saying. Pick up a book and read it. Go to a synagogue. Go to a real church, not a church that spews out propaganda. Or maybe go to a mosque and see what they say. Why don't you read the Quran? See what they say. Read a man called Maimonides. Maimonides was one of the best philosophers of our time. Smart, brilliant man. But pick up the Torah. Read about a man named Moshe Rabbeinu, who's Moses. The 5 books of Moses. Every day, Moshe Rabbeinu is in our lives. Every day, Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher. Rabbi in Hebrew means teacher. Every day we are being taught. We are being taught to love, to cherish, to honor, and respect, not to judge. That's why my segment is called Judgment Day. In segment 3, I will be talking about how it's not good to judge people for certain customs that they like to do or not to do. But as long as they practice their religion and as long as they have religion in their hearts, that's all you need. You don't have to be the most religious person in the world. And you don't have to be holier than thou to walk beside Hashem or Jesus in the kingdom of heaven. And that's the truth. You can practice your religion any way that you want, but the point is, and it says in the Torah, you do not judge. And of course, President Trump loves our Christian brothers and sisters. And on May 17th, let's put this up, he's having a national prayer event to rededicate America under God on May 17th, 2026. Mark your calendar, and we will cover that. Donald Trump announces a national prayer event to rededicate America under God on May 17th, 2026. Again, whatever God you worship, whether it's Allah, whether it's Hashem, Jesus Christ, whoever you worship, I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. Again, I encourage Christian brothers and sisters to work with the Jewish community. We are approaching Passover coming up April 1st. It is tradition for a non-Jew to celebrate Passover at a Jewish table. My mother invited non-Jews to her Passover Seder for years. It was beautiful to see the stories, to hear the stories, to incorporate non-Jews into the Seder. I've gone to Easter with my Christian friends. I've celebrated Christmas with them. I've sung Christmas carols. We're not proselytizing. They're not proselytizing. We're coming together. 2 religions as one. I think it's a beautiful thing. Do not ostracize yourself. Get to know Jewish people. I can tell you, I invite non-Jews to come to Shabbat service all the time. I do. Because I want them to feel welcome. I don't want them to feel that we're pushing them aside. I want them to feel welcome. It's very important. I mean, when I say random people, like I'm talking about strangers at a department store. Like women that help me like with my shoes or my clothes, even hairdressers. I invite them to my synagogue. I'm like, hey, you know, the shoes that I just bought from you, I'm going to be wearing them Saturday morning. You want to come to services? They're like, sure. Yes, it's in Hebrew, but there's also English translations because we all read from the same Bible, the Old Testament. Majority of us do. There's nothing wrong with blending the religions together, meaning having Christians and Jews come together and attend services together. Again, if you're Jewish, invite a non-Jew to your Passover Seder. It's April 1st is the first night of Passover. April 2nd is also the first two Seders are very important. Invite a non-Jew. It's tradition. And you'll feel better for doing it. You'll be making what they call a mitzvah, which is a good deed. Well, before we go on our break, we have our sponsor, rncstore.com/ALL. You want to use these supplements before Passover and also after Passover. It's Richardson Nutritional Center. It's 10% off discount. Use the QR code right there, ALL. If you don't put ALL, you don't get the 10% off. This will help with your immune system. If you have cancer, it reduces cancer. If you have pre-cancer, it reduces the cancer. If you have cancer in your family, I advise you to take this now. I've lost a tremendous amount of weight. I have a lot of energy after I take these supplements. It is a phenomenal way to help yourself. So please go to rncstore.com/ALL. Click on the discount code, put an ALL. If you don't put an ALL, you don't get the discount. And of course, the more you spend, the more you get off. I know he always has discounts for Easter, for Passover, for different holidays. So please, guys, go to rncstore.com/ALL. Coming after the break, we have an exclusive interview with a candidate running for Frederick County School Board in the state of Maryland, my good friend Sam Rosenbloom. He will be with us right after the break. Stay tuned. More coming up on Alexandra Levine Live.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Levine. I'm a professional opera singer, actress, TV, and radio personality. Since 2015, I've been a volunteer, a field director, and a campaign manager, learning the ins and outs of the political world. That's why I became a political consultant. My job is to lead you to victory with organization, structure, and the mindset of winning for your district or state. With my guidance and direction, I can keep you focused on the things that matter to the people and advise you on key issues that need to be addressed. If you're a serious candidate that is serious about winning, then book a consultation with me today. Go to levineconsulting.co. You'll be happy you did.
And hello, everyone. Hello. We are back with the America's Pulse Network. I am Alexandra Levine. We are live. And we have the pleasure of having an exclusive interview with my good friend, Sam Rosenbloom. He's a candidate for Frederick County School Board. He's Jewish. He's an awesome human being. We have done a lot of rallies in support of Israel, also rallies to bring the hostages back. He is a fighter. He is a freedom of speech activist. We love him, and I'm so happy that he has stepped it up to do this. And he's been working with our really good friend, Colt Black, who is part of the Frederick County School Board, who we all helped get elected. And we just love Sam, and I really appreciate him coming on. Thank you for coming on to our network, Sam.
It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much. And I love your dog. What's your dog's name?
This is Shayna.
Hi, Shayna. So cute. Oh, my God. I love it.
Shayna Razel.
Oh, I like it. My Hebrew name is A.L.L, Razel, so I love it. So, Sam, you're running for school board. What compelled you to do this?
Well, I first started going to the school board meetings. It was more to exercise my First Amendment rights and so forth. I realized the more that I went, the more that I attended, the more that I saw the things people were talking about and the total distractions that people were getting involved in, that the people were essentially not particularly qualified, in my opinion. And you know, as you know, sometimes the people that are better at politics, at talking out of both sides of their mouth, those are the kind of people that get elected for, you know, but it's not without qualifications. There's nothing more important nothing more sacred than educating children. And you would think the best people would be, you know, pushed forward to be on the board, but that just does not seem to be the case.
Now, you've been seeing a lot of ridicule from our friend Colt Black. And all he's doing is expressing his freedom of speech, but he wears a kippah every school board meeting. And he's not saying anything that's controversial, but the Democrats and some parents want to make it controversial for him. As someone who is Jewish, what say you about that? How do you feel about that?
Well, anyone who's lived long enough, everyone has issues at some point in their life. And I think that he's been unfairly attacked, and it's just sort of an attack of opportunity. There's an opportunity, let's go attack him. And to me, it's not even a thinly veiled, kind of thing. It's just a direct kind of attack on him because he wears a kippah to the meetings. And he definitely, to me, that's exactly the issue. More like people are attacking him because they see the opportunity. And really, it's such a low, standard. I see it at all the meetings with a lot of other different issues, not just that.
I agree with you. And I've been watching a lot of these Frederick County School Board meetings, and I hear the parents, yearning for, just some type of different curriculum to happen, especially in the state of Maryland. They push the CRT and the transgender or the gender identity curriculum. As the next school board member, what is your mission to change the curriculum and make it so it's about education and not about made up stuff?
Well, it's such a big distraction. At best, the gender issue, it affects maybe significantly less than 1% of the population, yet kind of, usurps a tremendous amount of the air that's in the room. And to me, unless it's a safety issue, to me, it's not even an educational issue. Whether men or a 6-foot boy can play on the women's wrestling team or something like that. It's just absurd.
I agree with you on that. One of the biggest things that we talked about before coming on is your passion for technology and your passion to bring back manufacturing jobs. It also teaches the kids more about manufacturing and business. Can you elaborate on that for our audience?
Well, the current administration, they say they want to, restart the supply chain. And sometimes that has to do with a lot of sophisticated things and, high technology or, the computer chips that go into cars and things like that. But, for a lot of people, you go to school, especially at the high school level, and they don't see anything being manufactured. It could be something as mundane as a shirt, and I read an article in the Washington Post some years ago about a person that wanted to, make a shirt in the United States for a golf club, so when you go and you play golf, you want one with the little, symbol of the club, and they're willing to pay a high price because it's a special gift, from your golf club and so forth. And the person said, it's $100 in labor, and they couldn't manufacture a shirt in the United States. And here we're the country that invented sewing machines and everything. And, it's true. Maybe the labor costs are half in different countries and you don't have to pay Social Security and everything. But there should be a challenge. Children should be introduced to technology. They should be able to see things being made. It could be very simple things. It doesn't have to be, a computer chip. But sometimes when you see things being manufactured, I was fortunate when I was in college, I got to see a nuclear power plant while it was being constructed. And then I decided to go back to school and get a degree in nuclear engineering. But if you were fortunate enough to be able to see manufacturing, like at the high school level, that might inspire people. And we see that sometimes when it comes to certain metrics like reading and math, and we're 37% proficient in this and that, it's all a lot of, like, to me, it just represents a lot of fake metrics that people that are kind of involved in the outcome are the people that represent it. But when it comes to manufacturing, if you could inspire, 1 out of 10,000 students, that would be success. If you could, figure how many millions of students there are in the United States, and you could produce 1 or 2 extra Steve Jobs or Michael Dell or that. I mean, these people, Bill Gates, one of the things they all have in common is they didn't finish college. They were completely inspired and had their mind going and entrepreneurial spirit going while they were in high school.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because President Trump has been very vocal on pushing vocational schools for kids that don't want to go to college. And we're finding out that a lot of kids that do graduate from vocational schools, they go on to become very successful. they end up owning their own engineering firms or their plumbing companies, and they tend to actually make more money than doctors and lawyers. And that's very interesting to see. So with what you're saying with the technology and teaching technology in business, would you say that's kind of pushing those type of students that don't really necessarily want to end up going to college, but they'll go to a vocational school and then hopefully go on to be the next Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and so forth?
Well, I think there's a lot of different aspects to it. It could be children that are good at, organization, good at, applied math, or it could be someone that's just really interested in welding or something. But whether you're interested in welding, you might end up, with a contract for Chrysler redoing, reconstructing their vans, which I actually have a nephew in Baltimore who's, a very successful person, didn't do anything special. It was just sort of remanufacturing some vehicles. He didn't invent anything, but he understood, business, and he was challenged by it and inspired by it. So I think there's all different types of things, high tech, low tech, whatever. But, it's like when you go into the store, there's literally nothing made in the United States anymore. So
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that, wholeheartedly. We do have something in Baltimore County, in Baltimore City called Trade Point Atlantic. They're actually focusing more on improving the artificial intelligence factories and also pushing more young people to go to vocational schools. And they're setting them up to be successful firefighters and first responders and police officers, which I think is great. Is that something that maybe in the future, something that you would maybe think about implementing in Frederick County?
Absolutely. I mean, Frederick County does have some interesting programs. They have a technology development program where, the children spend half a day, learning to be an electrician and things like this. So when they come out, they have, a livelihood. They're already, sort of a seasoned person. You could be doing carpentry, and they build a house, same sort of program, they have in Montgomery County. But I would focus more. I would actually, if I were, blessed and I got elected, I would get in my car. I'd go to Annapolis. I'd try to find, the people, the big thinkers, say, hey, we need to contact certain industry. And, the industry in different countries, especially in Germany, they have an interesting system where they pair students with industry. So by the time they're finished with their education, then they know the industry, just like how we, will train someone in high school to be an electrician, then they understand that. But we don't really focus on technology, on manufacturing, and manufacturing is a special thing. And it's like when you see 1,000-piece puzzle and you open up that box and dump it out, it looks overwhelming, right? Especially if it's a big picture of M&Ms or something, right? But intuitively, it's one piece at a time. It's just intuition, right? But if you saw some really complicated industry, $1 billion industry where they're manufacturing things with lots of parts and everything, the person in charge needs to be able to give sort of a field trip to students to explain this is one step at a time, and each step can be broken down, piece by piece. And those inspired children, in 4 years, they could be, a mechanical engineer. That's how industry has to see, high school students. But we don't really do that in the United States. And some of those kids, might be literally starting new industries. In a sense, it's an opportunity. You can't make a shirt in the United States, right? You can't make a pair of pants. But that's an opportunity, right? Because that's the challenge. How do you actually do it? How can you do it with 1/3 of the, of the human, effort that goes into it? Or maybe you can deal with more robotics or something like this. Eventually, there are a lot of things that happen today that we thought were impossible just a few years ago. So that's the way I see it. The worst that could happen is people could fail, which is not the worst thing in the world, right? But you're not going to know unless you try, unless you put your feet in the arena.
Exactly. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Now, something that's very near and dear to both of our hearts is, unfortunately, the rise of anti-Semitism in a lot of schools. We saw it on college campuses under the Biden administration. It has calmed down under Trump, but we still see it. And unfortunately, it has been creeping into the middle school and high schools.
Right.
As the next school board member, what is your mission to combat the anti-Semitism? Have you been looking at or maybe thinking of possibly pushing or mandating Holocaust education in all of middle school and all of high school.
Well, there's no reason why, comparative religions and religious issues, could not be taught. How many wars have been fought in the name of, religion? How many people have been killed? I used to teach a class where I listed every, war and the percentage of the populations that have been killed, in the Crusades and everything. It just goes on and on and on. And you're not supposed to actually have religion in the school, but there's no reason why it can't be taught about, which religions are the most tolerant, which ones are the most violent, the different aspects of different things, to give people a good orientation. That's what I would do. But I do not believe that's being done today.
I agree with you. And the issue is because of the rise of anti-Semitism in schools, it's really putting the safety and security of Jews and Christians in schools in harm's way and in danger. And that's a big problem too. That's a huge problem. And what we're seeing, and I saw this in Annapolis, is they're literally pushing all this anti-Israel BDS resolutions, which is boycott and divest and sanctions, saying that America shouldn't be doing any business with Israel, that the schools shouldn't be doing any business with Israel. I mean, this has been creeping onto college campuses, but eventually it's going to be creeping into the main school boards, into public schools as well. What say you about that? How can we combat that? I mean, a lot of these BDS resolutions they're non-binding, but they have students that have a whole assembly and they quote pass it, and it's very dangerous that it's even being brought up to the forefront.
I mean, most Americans are pretty ignorant. They don't know any history. They're not taught any history. And I think that a lot of this is kind of overt. I mean, in a way, it's kind of subtle. It's not in the form of education, but it's kind of a way. It's kind of indoctrination, right? And it makes people have a certain way of thinking, about Israel, about Jews, and these are the people that are going to be. You look at a bunch of elementary school students, right? But in 20 years, they're going to be the leaders of the country. Right. And the people that are now the leaders, they're going to be dead. So we're subtly changing the way people think about Jews and about Israel, instead of, how a tiny percentage of the population had such a large impact on American culture. I was just reading about, talk about manufacturing. The last fabric mill to shut down was in Greensboro, South Carolina. It made denim, and a Jewish person bought it. And they kept it going for like 100 years or something. And they partnered with Levi Strauss. And originally it was like working clothes, but they showed how that had an impact on jeans and on American culture and everything. And they tried to keep it going for as long as they could. It finally closed down. But essentially most of the people were in that town were employed by the mill. And people don't even think about all these things. How did Jews impact the jeans culture, in style or medicine or technology or entertainment?
I am so sorry about that. All of a sudden we were talking and then my camera cut out. I don't know why. That's very interesting why I don't have a camera right now.
Okay. I think I'm still on though.
You're still on, but I'm not on. That is very strange because I didn't touch anything. Unless somebody's working with an algorithm or something. Interesting. I'll have to, we're just going to keep going. So I don't know why. Sharon, producer? I don't know what happened here. But anyway, so my final question to you is, Frederick County, as you know, is becoming, it's a purple district, but unfortunately it's been leaning blue the last few years. But what's interesting is even though it was leaning blue, we flipped 2 conservatives on the school board. We got Cole Black in there and Jamie Brenn, which is amazing. We didn't flip the congressional seat, though. We got April Delaney in there. And, they're hoping that they'll flip the congressional seat back to Republican. I don't see it happening, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, we're hoping. I mean, I'm in it to win it. So we're hoping to put more common thinkers in it. I'm really surprised. I worked for the Department of Energy for a long period of time, for over 30 years. And I interacted with a lot of people, with a lot of, people outside of this culture. And I always figured, well, I'm working for the government. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But you see that politicians can be in your face. I mean, they don't have high ethical standards. The last meeting that I went to, I talked about education and the heritage of Jewish education, as you know, and how, literacy was really not very high until recently. But for Jews, I mean, Jews were literate, since biblical times. You had to be able to read, And when I finished, a person yelled at me like "Free Palestine" or something like that, and I asked the person running the meeting, why didn't you eject that person from the from the meeting? They've ejected Sean Porter for different reasons, and she just defended herself. I mean, that was absolutely like in your face. I don't care. I have no ethical standards.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous and it's asinine to me. But my follow-up question to you is, it's interesting, the divide, meaning I believe that because the school board members like Colt and Jamie Brenn, they kept it to the issues. They didn't bring up Trump. They just focused on local issues. And we always say politics is local now. I do believe that's the reason why they won. Because when I was working on their campaigns, I didn't say this person's a Trump person, this person's unless the voter asked. And people were like, well, do they support this? Do they support that? And I said, well, Colt supports this, Jamie Brenn supports that, and so forth. And because they supported certain things that the voters supported, that's why they voted for them.
Yeah.
And to my mind, that's really important.
Well, I align pretty closely with Colt, but at the same time, I did not decide to run because I knew all the answers to all of the issues. The budget and all this is very, very complicated. The way I see it is you have a board. It's got a bunch of people on it, and each person brings certain expertise and qualifications and experiences and so forth. And together, that makes the board better, stronger, wiser, and so forth. And I just realized that as I listened to these people, that I had certain expertise that they did not have. I have a certain, outlook that they do not have. I mean, as far as just being conservative with budget and family values and so forth, I align very closely with Colt and with the other conservative people. I have a bachelor's degree in biophysics. My first job was working in a hospital doing research. I worked for the Department of Defense, and I saw, I worked on the last underground nuclear tests. I saw all kind of crazy technology. I worked for the Department of Navy. I saw, the aircraft carrier called the Roosevelt being put together from the very beginning to the very end, and seeing that sort of thing was just amazing. And I got to work for the Department of Energy and all sorts of, fantastic, highly complex, industries and so forth. And I realized this is what we need. I mean, we don't need all those industries, but we need people that have experience with industry and with technology and so forth to try to get the country back on the right path. Do you remember when Trump ran for the first time? He went to, I think, a company called Carrier, and he tried to convince them to stop, not to move to Mexico.
Yeah, I remember.
Then Obama made some sort of comment like, well, what does he think he's got? Like a magic wand or something, And it just showed that Obama had no concept of business or anything like that, what it would really take. But I think Trump did have an intuitive understanding. He's a person that built buildings. He must have known how to, buying things from different countries and concrete and steel and stuff like that. And he knew what happened when things weren't sourced in the United States anymore. And so, the prices went up. We lost control of the supply chain. I mean, forget, automobiles and things, but, so that's what I think. I think I have a pretty good understanding of some sort of, like a nuclear power plant that employs, thousands of people. The Department of Energy had over 100,000 contractors. People don't realize like how vast it is and everything. So that's what I thought that I would be able to bring to the table, a program that would try to inspire, high school students in particular, to pair them with industry, to show them, try to, motivate them, and along those lines. Exactly how to do it, I don't know. But, it start out, getting making agreements with companies to give them a tour, and maybe even to have some sort of curriculum. We didn't think 15 years ago that there would be a robotics program. And now I don't think it's an actual curriculum, but I went to one of the city council meetings and I was talking to a person. There was a teacher and there was like 5 students there. And they were there. I think they were getting an award because they had won several competitions, in robotics. So that's what we need to think. Those people, maybe they'll figure out how to do things with, with high technology and less labor, and bring some of the technology and production back to the country. It's like everyone's got to be pushing in the same direction. At the administration level, at the federal level, they're pushing in a certain direction. But then the high school teachers and the high school curriculums, they have to do it. Everyone's got to be pushing in the same direction to make sure things happen.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Sam. You have been so informative. This has been such a phenomenal interview. I'm so sorry my camera cut out, but I'll be reloading and uploading, and hopefully my face will come back. But please tell us how we can reach you. I know that's your QR code right there. And what is your campaign, and how we can put donations towards your campaign?
The campaign, you can see the website is up. It's samforschoolboard.com. And it's all up except for the donation page. But that will be up soon. That's kind of complicated, getting that put together. Well,
people can they can write a check to your campaign.
They can write a check, and that the address is on the website, and it would be greatly appreciated. And it is kind of pricey to put together a campaign, and I'm learning a lot about it, and hopefully we'll be back maybe one more time. And also,
I would love to have you on right before the primary. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. No, you've been awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And I'm going to cut out, guys. We're going to reload, and I'll be back right after the break. Okay. Thank you.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up. Because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. But America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. The New Jersey State House Watch, hosted by Jack Brangen and Constance Detzel. APN's The Pulse is moderated by either Alexandra, Damon, Elena, or Seth. Also tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X, Rumble, Truth Social, Parler, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Join the revolution, because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I was in and I was out, but you got to see a beautiful headshot of me. But thank you to Sam Rosenbloom. I mean, he is just awesome. Love the guy. We fully endorse and support him on our network, on our show. And fellow, we call him man of the tribe. I wholeheartedly support him, and I wholeheartedly hope that he wins in the primary and goes on to becoming the next school board member, because he really loves our children and he really cares. Before the break, we forgot about our second sponsor, FoliumPX.com. We'll put that up. Full body detox, free radical support. Everybody's doing this before CPAC, after CPAC, before Passover, after Passover. If you've ever eaten matzah, oh my God. I mean, it's gluten-free, but it will bloat you. And you will gain weight from the first couple nights of Passover. I can tell you that. from all the desserts and all the matzah and all the food and the brisket. I mean, it's a lot of food on Passover and a lot of wine on Passover too. So if you want to clean yourself out, detox yourself after Passover, it is kosher to do this. These are kosher supplements, by the way. I did look them up. I even spoke to many Orthodox Chabad rabbis about this and ultra-Orthodox rabbis about this, ultra-Orthodox rabbis. These are kosher supplements that you can take to really detox your body. And they're kosher for Passover as well. So please, guys, go to fullympx.com, and clean yourself out before Passover, after Passover, before Easter, after Easter, before CPAC, and after CPAC, and so forth. So coming up before we have the CPAC in America, we have something called CPAC Hungary. And I talked to Marton about this. So CPAC Hungary, has been up and running in Budapest for, it's going on its 5th year now. It's actually this weekend. It's March 21st is when it starts. And Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, will be there, God willing. President Trump, he hasn't come in person, but he usually does a video clip for everybody. And it's just, again, it's so beautiful to see the conservative support, the I don't want to say Republican support because they're a parliamentary system, but the capitalistic support and the capitalistic country of Hungary and the beauty of Budapest. As you know, I had the pleasure of going there. I had the pleasure of meeting Marton personally, taking a private tour of the monastery, seeing where Prime Minister Orban literally reads every single Thursday. He goes into this library study, and there's tons and tons of books. I was not allowed to take pictures of it, but it was just beautiful to know that he'll sit on a Thursday like today and he'll read. He'll just pick up a book and read. And it's philosophy books, it's political books, it's genealogy books. It's every type of book you could think of is in this library. And to go outside to the terrace and just to see the beautiful view of the Danube and to see the parliament at night, it's so historic over there in Budapest. And then, of course, I had the pleasure of celebrating Shabbat over there, getting involved with the Jewish community over there, going to the Hungarian baths, getting involved with the people there. I mean, it was just such a beautiful experience. And I did spend the day in Vienna, Austria, and I'll be honest, it's day and night. I mean, the people of Vienna, you could feel the socialism. You could feel they're very stiff. You could feel they're very dry. They're very cold people. And it's not the feel of when you go to Budapest. When you go to Budapest, the people are very nice. The food is very good. You feel more free and you don't want to leave. Like, honestly, I wish I was there now. Like, it's just so accommodating over there. And it's so beautiful. And it's a very safe country over there too. And I wish I was going there for CPAC Hungary, but I will be getting a lot of insight. I do have a friend, a personal friend of mine that is over there now. He does a lot of work in Budapest. And of course, I will be keeping up with my good friend Marton to know, to see in real time what happened over there and what they discussed. I encourage everybody to watch CPAC Hungary. CPAC is about 6 hours ahead of us. They haven't done the time change yet. I think actually it's coming up soon. I think in April they do the time change, but it's very good if you can to watch it. It's something that Matt Schlapp has done, putting together CPAC Brazil, CPAC Tokyo. He's got different CPACs in all over the nation. And of course we have the original CPAC. So CPAC was normally in DC. It was at the Gaylord for years and years and years. They did have it 2 years in Florida due to COVID. The shutdowns, because DC was completely locked down. But the Gaylord in DC, was getting very pricey, very liberal. And Matt Schlapp said, you know what, I don't want to do it here anymore. I'm tired of it. So he actually cut the contract with the Gaylord in DC, or Prince George's County, which is technically Maryland. And now he's having this CPAC in Texas, and he's having it in Dallas. And he's going to be rotating between Dallas and Florida for the next few years. So this year it's in Dallas, Texas. Next year it's going to be in Florida. The year after that, it'll be in Dallas, and then it'll be back in Florida. So he's going to do Dallas, Florida, Dallas, Florida, Dallas, Florida. I think it's going to be in Orlando, Florida, or different parts of Florida, maybe Tampa. But if you haven't gone to a CPAC, I do encourage you to go. If you're a political person and you want to get involved, if you want to see every single conservative person that either in the media or running for office or who's in office, that is the place to be. Anybody who's anybody in the conservative movement goes to CPAC. And of course, President Trump, he speaks at CPAC the last day. The vice president will speak the day before. They have a Ronald Reagan Lincoln dinner, and they usually have a special guest. Sometimes it's someone from President Trump's cabinet, or you never know who it's going to be. It's not going to be Tucker Carlson, I can tell you that. But it's, in my opinion, I feel like this year, especially when I went in 2024, it was a very, very good experience. Or excuse me, 2025. I went 2024 and 2025. 2025 was the best experience because President Trump won re-election. So it's really good to see President Trump in 2025, in February 2025 last year. And I met some great people, people that, you know, have touched me, that will be in my life forever and ever. And just an amazing experience, And of course, when people go there, they do dress up. They do wear what they call costumes, or they wear something that's representing the time. So in 2024, that's when the heavy rise of anti-Semitism was happening on college campuses and so forth under the Biden administration. And I wore something like this, and we're going to put that up. So I started a trend. Nope. Not yet. Yep, there we go. So if you see, so that's actually one of the dresses. That's the main theme of my show. But if you see, I'm wearing the Israeli flag dress. Now, this dress was custom made for me. I actually already had the dress. I had an Orthodox Jewish lady in Baltimore County. She personally sewed the Israeli flag on the bottom of my dress. Next to me is a very famous singer. She's a country singer. Her name is Natalie. She sings Trump Won and You Know It. She's very popular. And that's her dress that she had custom made, Trump Won and You Know It. And I wear American flags too, you know, when I go to CPAC. But this year was special because it was, you know, combating anti-Semitism and so forth. I had the pleasure, God willing, I lost more weight and I got to fit into that dress again. And I wore that dress in 2025. So I started that trend in 2024 and in 2025. Now we see in 2026 with Gail Gadot, who's Israeli, and Sarah Silverman, who's Jewish, they're wearing Israeli flag dresses. Interesting. And Gail Gadot has become more pro-Israel. Sarah Silverman's a little bit liberal, but again, when it comes to Israel and the Jewish people, actors and actresses, liberal or not, they do step it up. A lot of liberal actors and actresses have stepped it up and have gone to Israel and supported Israel, and they don't like what's going on over there with the Free Palestine crap and from the river to the sea and whatever. But this is so beautiful to see that my trend that started kind of like, you know, is becoming a trend in Hollywood. Because in Hollywood, they don't even allow, they wouldn't even allow Gail Gadot to wear her yellow pin supporting the hostages. They said it was too controversial, it was too political. Yet at the Golden Globes and the Oscars, you have Javier Bardem, an anti-Semite, screaming Free Palestine. He goes, end the war, Free Palestine. Oxymoron. And then they're all wearing F-ICE pins, or, you know, screw ICE, and they're wearing Palestinian flags on their lapels. So they don't know what the hell is going on. So again, this issue with Israel should not be political. It should be a bipartisan issue. It shouldn't even be a partisan issue. It should be nonpartisan. Again, we need to support our biggest ally, Israel. But, you know, I put that up there recently on Facebook, and some people gave me crap and said, why don't you wear an American flag on your dress? Why are you wearing an Israeli flag? America first, America first. Let me tell you something. It is not, I am not pledging allegiance to a foreign nation by wearing an Israeli flag. I'm not anti-America because I'm wearing an Israeli flag across my body. What I'm doing there is I am showing my support for my religion. What I'm doing there is I'm supporting the Jewish people and the American Jews that live in Israel, that have dual citizenship. And as you see, I have a Trump purse in my hand. So how am I not America first? How am I not representing? Also down below, you see in the little thing in between, not only am I wearing the Israeli flag dress, I was in 2024, but I held the American flag up high because I hold the country that I was born, I hold that flag up high as I wear the Israeli flag down below. So the country I was born in, I hold up high. The other country that I support, I hold down below. And when I do rallies for Israel in America, I always put up the American flag first and the Israeli flag down. When I sing at political events, I sing two national anthems. I sing the American anthem and I sing the Israeli national anthem because it is requested. Which anthem do you think I sing first? I sing the American, the Star Spangled Banner first, out of respect to the country that I was born in, and then I sing the Israeli national anthem second. I would never do the other way around. And I sing many patriotic songs, such as God Bless America, America the Beautiful, and so forth. But my question to my audience is it more politically correct to call yourself an American Jew or a Jewish American? A lot of people call themselves a Jewish American because we were born Jewish. Our religion comes first, and then second is the country you were born in. When you are born in the woman's womb, your mother determines what your religion is. Your father determines the sex. In Judaism, it's the mother who determines the religion. So in the Jewish womb, you are Jewish. And then when you are born, whether you're born in America, Mexico, Israel, that defines if you are a Jewish American, a Jewish Mexican, a Jewish Spaniard. But Jews don't go around calling themselves a Jewish American. We just say we're all American. That's really important. So again, that's my question to you guys. Are we American Jews? Are we Jewish Americans? I ask my Jewish audience. I have a lot of Jews on that watch my program. What do you define yourself as? Is it bad that I wore an Israeli flag across my body at CPAC when we were talking about something that is important? I may wear my Israeli flag dress again, but I can tell you that I am in the process of having a custom-made dress. And I've asked people to do this where I have the American flag on one side and the Israeli flag on the other side, or the Israeli flag here and the American flag behind me and vice versa. I'm in the works of making that dress. These dresses aren't easy. They take months to make and they're expensive. They're not cheap. To have a custom-made dress is not cheap. It's not something I bought at frickin' Macy's or Dillard's or Saks. I would go to Saks now, everybody, because all the Sakses are closing in May. Just FYI. 75% off sales at a Saks near you. But it's true. It's very, very, very true. How do you define yourself? There's people that go to Golden Globes. They go to Oscars. They go to events. What do you guys think about Gal Gadot and Sarah Silverman wearing an Israeli flag dress? Now, Gal Gadot was born in Israel, but Sarah Silverman was born in America. Now, Gal Gadot is an American citizen. I'm not sure if she keeps her dual citizenship. I'm not sure if she's still an Israeli citizen. I'm not sure about that. She may. I don't know. That's something I would have to investigate. But Sarah Silverman is an American Jew born in America, is wearing an Israeli flag dress. But I'm proud to go to CPAC. I'm proud to represent our network on CPAC, or at CPAC, excuse me. And I will be attending CPAC Shabbat, which hopefully Mark Levin will be there and many other big prominent people. I know there is